Morning, folks. Sunday breakfast with the coach about to get started. So when you guys are on board and ready, lots to talk to you about today. I don't know how much of it I will get through, but hopefully once we get on board, you'll have your own questions, and I've also got some commentary and things like that. So let us know when you're out there and when you're on board, and I'll be happy to take on your questions as well as impart some information that I'd like to talk about today as well. So yeah, let's build an audience and then let's get going. Happy Easter to everybody. If you celebrate that with more than chocolate eggs and chocolate bunnies, then happy Easter to you. Let me know when you're getting on board. We're picking up some numbers. Morning, Mr. Gill. Let's see who else is. Yeah, let me know you're out there with some thumbs up or some comments, and we'll get going with subjects of the day, of which I have a few. So lately, I hope you've been able to get on my podcast, Smarter Sculpted Physique. Lots of good guests we've had on lately, and we'll have on in the future. So very, very good to get that going as well. So get your questions ready. I do have several little comments that I want to get across, but of course I'm here to answer your questions as well. So we'll wait for our audience to build. Let me see, we got England on board and some new people on board. So for the new people, welcome. Get your questions ready, but I'll have to warn you, this is the place where people come for the truth. So you know, sometimes I don't candy coat things because I don't have the time. And I like to get through a lot of stuff, so a lot of the times, you know, I might seem abrupt, but I'm not. I'm just trying to get through a lot of things at once. So, as I like to say, I'm 50 pounds of real in a 10-pound bag, so people should be ready for that when they come across here. It's not a gimmick, it's not an act, it's just the way I've been and always been. And, yeah, so listening from, it looks like my tiny eyes can't see. The comment section is very, very small. So that looks like an Aussie flag, but I'm not sure. So anyway, very, very good. Now, I'm not sure how many of you are following out there the viral, the viral big deal. I'll get to if it fits your macros for sure, Ben. We'll get there. Okay, hello. For all of you out there, let's start on a good. It's Easter. A happy Easter Sunday. And for some warm-hearted stuff, some happy stuff for a change. I don't know how many of you out there have been following the viral sensation, but April gave birth. April the giraffe, that is. You can check that out later. Very momentous thing. Good for awakening and helping with animal life, wildlife across the world, and saving some endangered species for sure, but just something incredible to watch. So yes, so congrats to April the giraffe. Okay, so and happy Easter to you all. So we're just building an audience now. Audience is getting out there. Let me know you're out there, and then let me start with a few things that have come across my desk. And yeah, I'd like to first of all have people. If you haven't yet, you can go to scottabelfitness.com and then opt in and get a free copy of my book, The Achievement Mindset, or The Mindset of Achievement, that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people should, because lately it seems to me that a lot of people undertake a physique transformation challenge, and then what I end up hearing from these kind of people over and over again is how hard it is. So, you know, my response to that is stop telling me how hard it is. It's the hard that makes it great, okay? It's the hard that makes it special. All right, it's the hard that makes it all worth doing. If it was easy, then what would be the point? You wouldn't need someone like me. But to keep telling your mind that something is hard is just dictating the kind of experience you're going to have, and that makes no sense to me. So the other thing with that, this is so hard kind of thing, is stop confusing the word hard with complicated. Okay, it's not complicated no matter how much you're wannabe guru trying to tell you it is, okay? Stop hiding behind the word complicated and the word hard. Accept that it's hard, but reorient that word hard into the word challenging, okay? Because it's meant to be a challenge, otherwise, again, what would be the point? Whether I was transforming my physique or writing a book, I undertake the task knowing that it's a challenge. If everyone could do it, then it wouldn't be a thing worth doing. So a lot of times in your own head, you have to reorient how you look at things. So that's very, very important as well. So, good morning, Lydia. Good to have you on board. So you can get your questions ready. There's a couple things I want to get through. One is just what I'm witnessing this time of year because it's competition season in the local area, and talk about appearances being deceiving. A lot of people are impressed with the appearances of these competitors, but don't be so impressed, because in a few weeks, in a few months, you'll see what ends up happening to these competitors. And I wrote a chapter in my book, Metabolic Damage and the Dangers of Dieting, and I wrote a chapter called Sometimes Falling Feels Like Flying for a Little While. And that's a lyric of a song, of course, country and western song. But it makes sense. These people don't know what they're doing for 10 minutes of stage time to be validated for their body and their hard work and all of that, and they don't know the metabolic chaos that they're in for when the competition is over and they try to go back to a regular diet and their body weight tries to regulate itself. So I always say sometimes falling feels like flying for a little while, and these people are in for a lot of metabolic hell, so not good. So yeah, we can talk about that if you want as well. I got several things to get through, and we can talk about that as well. So, and we also have a birthday girl on board, one of my regulars from San Diego. Happy birthday, Tracy Lynn. I would sing it to you, but everyone would sign off for sure after hearing my voice. So, hope you have a great day. Birthday on Easter Sunday, that's pretty special. So, shout out for that. Okay, so let's get to it. First question was about if it fits your macros. So, we obviously have someone new on board because I've talked about this before and I've written about it in my blog, etc., etc. And what started out as a reasonable notion, if it fits your macros, is actually really confounded, and it can do a lot more damage than good, because a calorie is not a calorie. And sweating and stressing over macros actually makes no sense. It really doesn't matter to your body if you've had 35% fat or 30% fat, and to have a guru tell you that there's a massive difference is, again, people who don't understand the realities and the biochemistry of the metabolic compensation system, and it's really tiresome. But the more important thing about if it fits your macros is the ways different foods react in the body and in the brain. When you eat what we call hyperpalatable foods, all right, foods that we tend to think of as indulgent foods, highly indulgent foods, snack-sized Snickers bars, Cliff bars, things, these light up, all right, the reward centers of the brain, what are called the opioid centers of the brain, much more so than, say, equal amount of calories in asparagus or some kind of veggie or something like that. So to argue if it fits your macros just because it fits a bunch of numbers is to ignore the inside-out effects and the human biochemistry and the hormonal responses and nutrient partitioning of these things. So for a lot of people out there who think they're practicing some kind of wise diet because they have snack-sized Snickers bars and they spend all day on a fit day trying to figure out how they can fit it into their macros, it's a little bit ridiculous. My people don't do any of that. I deliberately don't have them tracking macros. We deal with general principles, plate sizes, the 1/3 rule, things like that. So yeah, I find things like if it fits your macros and intermittent fasting, they're all, and especially keto is high on my hit list. They're basically gimmicky guru nonsense, all right? And it bothers me because it's not going to help a lot of people, and it's going to hurt more than it'll help. But of course, people with their placebo effects, they're the first ones when something's working up front for the first 8 or 9 days. They're the first ones all over social media how wonderful this is and how it's working. Well, ask them again in 6 to 8 months how that's playing out. So we see what happens with a diet strategy over the long term, not the short term. So very, very important as well. So yeah, so hopefully that answered the question. If you have another question on that, then feel free to ask again. But I wanted to get to, I have a client who sent me an article with reputable researchers behind it. And this client, when he joined with me, high blood pressure issues, heart disease risk issues. And I have him on a diet, of course, that includes carbohydrates, believe it or not, starches and fibers, carbohydrates, and something along the lines of, again, if it fits your macros. So this is actually from the Consumer Health magazine for this month. The healing power of a heart-healthy diet, more plants and healthy fats, less meat and sugar, blah, 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 is the plan for a long life. But I want to read a few segments of it to you and see how it resonates, how this industry, North Carolina, hello North Carolina and Melbourne, how this industry likes to make what's incidental instrumental, and how they play down what's instrumental as if it's incidental. And I want to talk to you about that. So here we go. In the beginning of this article, how many grams of fiber should I eat? How many milligrams of sodium is too much? What percentage of my calories should come as fat, which is a macro issue if it fits your macros. And now, this kind of thinking is a problem, according to Dariush Mozaffarian, MD, and the Dean of the Friedman School of Nutrition, Science, and Policy at Tufts University. You think he might know a few things about nutrition? And here's what he said. Eating that way doesn't make practical sense, and it's too easy to get confused. All right? Focusing too much on specific nutrients and not enough on overall dietary patterns, which is what I preach, can also harm your heart in the long run. For example, a low-fat diet can be bad for your heart if you get there by eating lots of sugar and refined grains and other fatty but heart-healthy foods. A true heart-healthy diet can be very powerfully effective, says Walter Willett, MD, chairman of the Department of Nutrition at Harvard School for Public Health, someone who I follow a lot. And he says diet alone can reduce heart disease risk by about 30%. Similar to taking cholesterol-lowering drugs. Eating right for a healthy heart does not have to be complicated either. Follow these tips. Here's some of the tips. Make vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, and beans centerpieces of your meal plans. Says another doctor, Linda Van Horn, PhD, professor of preventive medicine at the Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern University. Reputable schools of science, okay? Those foods, blah, blah, blah. Okay, though eating more of these healthy, protective foods cut risks of heart disease, an overall plant-based diet has even greater effects. Think of meat as a condiment. That means eating beef, poultry, and pork occasionally or in small 3 to 4 ounce portions, about the size of a deck of cards, or I say the palm of your hand, okay, is about the right amount. And everything after that should be what we call protein-sparing nutrients, fats and carbohydrates, all right? Now listen to this. Especially avoid processed meats such as bacon, deli meat, sausage, all right? A review by Harvard researchers, again, Harvard, all right, linked a daily serving equal to 1 hot dog or 2 slices of bacon to an increased risk of early death from heart disease and cancer. So here what you have is, right now with the keto diet and all this other nonsense, people are glorifying bacon and they're wrapping their sausage in bacon or blah, blah, blah. And then what we have is the real researchers saying that it's still very, very unhealthy. And anyone who follows me that knows that that's completely unhealthy as well. Very, very ludicrous kind of science. Very, very important. Let me see. And then again, Dr. Willett, Harvard School of Nutrition, all right, director actually. It's better to swap saturated laden fat foods for those rich in unsaturated fats. A 2015 Harvard study found that substituting 5% of saturated fat in your diet with unsaturated lowered heart risk disease by 25%, depending on the foods chosen. So cut back on saturated fat, things like, what's it say here, meat, cheese, and butter. Well, what do you see in the keto diets? Eat more meat, cheese, and butter. It's ridiculous, okay? It makes no sense, not for cosmetic purposes, and especially not for health. So let's get that through our heads, okay? And that is from Consumer Report from this month, Consumer Report, heart health article, and I thank my client for sending that. The reason my client sent that is, like I said, when he joined, he had blood pressure issues, things like that, and I have him on a fairly high carbohydrate diet, and yeah, his follow-up, on January 10th, his blood pressure was 144 over 102, and today it is 130 over 70. So very, very clear, healthier, healthier profile, blood profile for blood pressure by eating healthy, whole food, unprocessed food diet, not counting macros, not counting calories, proper portion sizes, things like that. So, well, okay, so Lydia writes that she's found out her LDL is slightly elevated. Not much of a meat eater, but I'm on a mission to correct that number. Slightly elevated, don't worry about. There's variations in what is normal. Normal just means average for most people, and some people might skew either way. So that's a very, very important thing to think about. And of course, if your HDL is high, then your LDL numbers won't mean a lot either. So that's very, very important as well. So let me know you're listening to me. I'm not seeing many thumbs across the board there, so I'd like to know that you guys are interested in the stuff I'm talking about, that it's important to me, and I want to talk about these kind of things as well. So very, very important. I'm also going to discuss another article, thank you, another article that was sent to me, and then I'll take more of your questions. So there's an article on Fox News this week about CrossFit, asking if CrossFit really can cause kidney damage, and any of you listening to me know that I know that it can cause kidney damage, and any of you listening to me or my podcast know that I think that CrossFit is a load of hooey and nonsense because it doesn't adhere to the principles. And when you violate the principles of exercise physiology, you offer nothing. So here's some of the things from this article. First of all, let's get an actual reputable doctor to explain things here. David A. Wang, MD, a sports medicine physician at the Hospital for Special Surgery, said when exercise utilizes all the energy supply in a muscle cell, this leads to a chain of events culminating in the death of the cell. And when the muscle cell dies, it leaks its contents into the bloodstream, which can end in damaging the kidneys. All right? Very, very important. All right? So you need to know. Again, we need to go outside the industry to find the real truth. Too many people are looking within the industry, within the fitness industry, thinking they're going to find the truth. No, you're going to find fitness bias. All right? And you're going to find people who want to defend where it is they come from. All right? We call that paradigm bias. So let me just see. Yes, and then another quote, Tanya Dempsey, MD, of Armark Integrative Medicine. CrossFit enthusiasts often push themselves through their workouts working until failure, even when they feel pain. Combine that intensity with CrossFit's strenuous exercises, and you'll see why CrossFitters are at a risk of developing rhabdomyolysis, which is organ damage, okay, kidney damage, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the thing. Here's an actual study I want you to know about that's mentioned in this article. If you're interested, guys, I'll post the link to the article after the podcast, after this session, live session is over. But a 2013 study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning. Look it up. Maybe one of you guys will post it while we're talking. 2013 Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research polled 132 CrossFitters and found that 73.5% were injured at some point during their training. All right? 73.5% injured at some point during their training. Now consider this. Most people involved in something are going to want to protect that thing they're involved in. So you can assume that they're going to underreport injury. All right, they're not gonna jump in and over-report it because they're CrossFitters, right? They're gonna try to protect what it is, their subculture. So, a poll again, 2013 Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, 132 CrossFitters polled, 73.5% injured at some point during their training. That's 3/4 of the people that undertake CrossFit get hurt. Does that sound like something reasonable as a training methodology to you, where 3/4 of the people are going to end up injured at some point? Does that even make logical sense in terms of popularity? But here we go. It's what's popular, not what's knowledgeable. You know what I mean? And there's an old saying that the lie can go around the world faster than the truth can even tie its shoes. This is one of those things. CrossFit became popular, therefore it must be right. The consumer doesn't know any difference. But here we go. Here's a study, 2013, Journal of Strength and Conditioning, 73.5%, which would be underreported, were injured at some point during their CrossFit training. Okay, that is insane. All right, to have 3/4 of the people working out getting hurt from the method of training. That doesn't make any sense to me at all right? So it's ridiculous, and it's just more proof of what I've been saying since 2011, where I was attacked for writing critical articles about CrossFit, even though I backed it with research and the principles. So yeah, and now here come people saying still suffering a shoulder injury because of cleans. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I have people even at my gym approaching me, can you help me out? I did CrossFit for 6 months and now I can't move this and I can't function for that. So very, very important. So yeah, trying to do this workout of the day mentality without assessing what you did yesterday, what kind of shape you're in, your conditioning level, your recovery needs, your internal biochemical hormonal environment, things like age, arthritic joints, non-arthritic joints, pliability. It makes ridiculous sense, and I see I've got some people coming on board to join me with their comments on CrossFit, so you can read those comments when this is over. So yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of this article, but you know, basically I wanted to touch on that actual research from 2013 where 3/4 of the people undertaking CrossFit reported getting hurt, and they wear that like some kind of badge of honor. That's a badge of stupidity. Let's get real, all right? So all these trainers out there, CrossFit certified, you know, to me that's like being certified in lying. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, actually Julie Starry just wrote it, a very good point. I wonder if a similar number are injured doing long distance running. Actually, running and jogging produce the most injuries of any kind of physical exercise undertaking. It's actually skewed far greater than any other form because people don't actually, most people aren't born to run in terms of genetic setup. Running is wicked hard on hip alignment and very hard on the knees because of the pounding, footfall for footfall. I don't allow any of my athletes to run or jog. The best I do is power walking with them. Walking very healthy, running not so much. So that's a good point, Julie. Very, very good point. So glad you guys are paying attention and offering relevant comment as well. So let's see if I missed anything as I went on my rants. So just people talking about their diet history with trying to cut carbs and stuff. Yeah, when you do that, you weaken the gastric juices, you weaken gut insulinogenic factors, you weaken enzymatic activity. When you do that and you're trying not to eat fruit and things like that, you run the risk of creating a very weak digestive system, and then that ends up confusing you through thinking that you have all these issues that you hear about. Oh, I'm gluten intolerant. Ooh, I've got IBS. Ooh, I've got all these. Well, no, you've just been eating in a way where you're not exercising the elements of the whole digestive system, so it gets weak and it gets incapable of handling foods it's used to. Another reason why we like the cycle diet so much is because on a refeed day, not only do we eat a lot, but we eat very, very different foods that keep exercising the enzymes and keep them strong within the gut. So very, very important. I just got done a whole box of Hershey-filled cream puffs before I came on here because it's my refeed day. So that's good there. So yeah, low carb diets, and again, low carb diets can really mess with your head as well. So they cause a lot of psychological issues in terms of during and after ADD, ADHD, brain fog, confusion, apathy, things like that, and then trying to consider that carbs are evil and carbs are bad can really end up playing a lot of psychological games with you when you try to get back to normal living and a normal diet. So that's very, very important as well. So good stuff on there, folks. A lot of really good good points. Any questions coming in, or I can just continue ranting if you want. But yeah, so let me know if you have any questions. I've written a bunch of stuff down as well here, so I'm sure I'll get to it in my own time. So if you have a question, let me just see if anybody's written in. Well, Ian writes in about people using mobile phones when working out and how counterproductive it is. Yeah, I've never understood that. I go in my gym now and it seems like everyone's glued to a phone, like they're dependent on it. And I don't know if they're looking at their workout or they're looking at their next exercise, but why? I mean, if that's what you need to do in the gym, okay, but do it in the parking lot. Do it before you get in there. Use it as a reference. I see people sitting there and they might as well be surfing Facebook. They've been sitting there for so long. They're not gauging their rest time. They're not gauging their performance level. They're not concentrating on the workout they're involved in. They're actually distracted from it. Yeah, you don't get involved in a workout by gluing yourself to an external object like a mobile phone. That just doesn't make any sense. I guess I'm a throwback to the old days. I don't even wear earbuds, anything like that, when I'm working out, because I'm connected to what I'm doing. I have to gauge my optimum recovery time and things like that. So that's very, very important. Louise, how much water is needed in a day? Well, the research on that and the thinking on that has changed a lot in the last 20, 25 years. It used to be something that we thought required measurement, and we realize it doesn't require measurement. It's really an individual thing. As long as people are aware to stay hydrated, then they're usually going to be hydrated. And then, of course, just make water your fundamental choice. Have some diet drinks here and there. But if you make water your primary choice, and you'll be able to tell by the quality of your skin and how your skin feels and things like that. So there's no need to measure that. And actually, Louise, if you come on board, the thinking of this page and this website, we get away from measurement. All right, I don't advocate life, what I call life inside the thin cage, when all you're doing is self-measuring everything. You know, calories, grams, proportions, macros, now water. I mean, then sodium. Where does it all end? I mean, that's not living, right? As I posted earlier this week, there's an old quote: "The unexamined life is not worth living, but the over-examined life isn't really living at all." And the fitness industry is starting to generate that over-examined life, that you need to walk around with a fit day and measure how many steps you're taking and how much water you're taking in and how many grams of this and that. That's not living. That's not the life we're meant to have, living in a world of abundance like this. None of my people do it. And you've seen Krista and you've seen Andy. My protege Andy's been in shape for more than a decade with probably some of the best set of abs in the world. All right, and he doesn't count calories or how much water he drinks or any of that stuff. We follow general principles because general principles work, and those are what are instrumental. It's a great question, though, Louise, so hopefully other people benefit from hearing that. Is wine or beer part of a refeed day? Carol De Silva, everything's part of a refeed day. For me, when it's football season, beer. Consider myself a beer connoisseur, so during football season, the most of what I enjoy on my refeed day is beer, and I make room for it by choosing other foods instead. So that's a very good point as well. Is a refeed day the same as a cheat day? Well, it should be, Louise. That's funny. I was just being interviewed for someone else's podcast yesterday, and we talked about all this and my cycle diet. People don't know this, but back in the 80s, I'm the one who began the whole notion of cheat day, refeed day. It was unheard of in my time. As a matter of fact, other experts didn't believe that I did this, and they would actually come and watch me eat because they thought I was just making this story up because I was so lean all the time that there's no way I was eating cartons of ice cream and whole cakes and things like that. They couldn't believe it. But after I coined the term cheat day, what happened, Louise, was I didn't realize the connotations it had for a lot of people who had food issues. So it started engendering things like guilt and shame and things like that. So I took a more clinical term like spike day or refeed day. And if you're interested, Louise, you should go to thecycle.diet. The website is called thecycle.diet. No .coms, just .diet. And that's where my book, The Cycle Diet, is, as well as the course on the cycle diet, which is how to make refeeds work. Hang on, let me see if I have it here. No, I don't have it here. No, I keep lending that book out, or I'd show it to you. But anyway, it's the Cycle Diet. There's a whole course, how and why and when to use refeeds and cheat days to optimize, stimulate metabolism without cosmetic consequences. That's the whole notion. When and how you can indulge without having cosmetic consequences for doing so. So being able to live in the world of abundance and being able to enjoy that. That's what the Cycle Diet's all about. Thoughts on plant-based diet? Well, you must be late, Henriette, because I just read a whole bunch of stuff about the plant-based diet. Yes, most of our, it's like Poland said, if it comes from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. So anything that you have that's organic and healthy coming out of a canister in a powder, that's not food. Okay, but if it comes from a plant, eat it. So, yeah. So, Ron, glad you've been following me since 2005. Appreciate that. Yeah, you can call it treat day. You can call it eat day. You can call it refeed day. I really don't care. But it's a sustainable diet. And remember, my 2 rules of a diet strategy that'll work is 1, it must serve the body, and 2, it must be sustainable. So forget about short-term stuff. I've been doing the Cycle Diet for 3 decades now. My protege Andy that you see live on the Coach and Andy show has been doing it for over a decade. And you can't see a more ripped physique than his as he enjoys donuts, ice cream, pizza, whatever. So it fits into the real world we live in, and I think that's an important thing, to be able to celebrate traditions that, like Easter, that have food included. You have to be able to do that. So very, very important as well. There's a question on sugar. I'm not going to get too into it. Yes, sugar causes inflammation, but let's not equate sugar and processed carbs with carbs in general. That's what goes on in the fitness industry. Sugar causes inflammation in the following ways. Therefore, sugar is bad. Therefore, starches break down to sugars. Therefore, they're bad too. It's just faulty logic. Okay, very, very faulty logic. So like I said in my book, Understanding Metabolism, if I had to be limited to one food for the rest of my life, it would be potatoes. Excellent amino acid profile, excellent polysaccharide chain, enough vitamin C to keep me going, and it's just a perfect food. So eschewing carbohydrates makes no sense in the grand term of things. So how are my workouts on Monday compared to, say, Friday or Saturday? Do I find myself to be stronger on Monday after a refeed day? I guess, Ron, to some point that's true, especially for my younger folks who are on the Cycle Diet. For me, if you read my book, Physique After 50, or my other book, The Aging Proposition, one of the things that becomes more important now is understanding that work capacity decreases after age 50, and it decreases substantially so, whereas recovery capacity increases. So what happens is, after age 50, you really have to monitor what I call intra-workout recovery. Not just recovery between workouts, but within workouts. And that becomes essential to be able to keep going. I can train 6 days a week because I don't try to hammer it like I used to in my younger years, in my career years. So it's the joy of training, but with the intelligence required at an older age. So for me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. But yeah, for some of my younger folks on the Cycle Diet, they find that performance tends to decline just slightly over the course of a week in anticipation of a refeed. And that's not abnormal at all. The body becomes a little bit flatter. For people that understand that term, it's a bodybuilding term. So yeah, hopefully that helped. I'm just trying to read the next question as I'm talking. Jack, in Physique After 50, if you cannot complete a set, you should stop the set or reduce the weight and finish the set. Stop the set. Yeah, if you reduce the weight and finish the set, that's called a drop set or sometimes a strip set. That's taking the body beyond the point of recovery, what I was just talking about. You want to make sure after age 50 that recovery is everything. So if you can't complete another rep, that should tell you that the weight was too heavy. All right, so if in one of my workouts, what I always tell people, if it says 3 to 4 sets times, say, just arbitrarily 8 to 10 reps, let's say, and you only get 5 to 6 reps, but the goal was 8 to 10 reps, then the biofeedback you should be reading is that you chose a weight that was too heavy, because you're targeting 8 to 10 reps. Similarly, if you choose a weight and you're supposed to aim for 8 to 10 reps, but you could easily do 15, then you chose a weight that was far too light. So the rep schemes end up being everything, and they determine your load selection and things like that. There's too many people out there confusing the term heavy, okay? And that goes on all the time. So what we see here is the term heavy. Too many people still, since the day I started, equating heavy with how much weight is on the bar. But heavy is actually a term denoting how much stress the muscle is under, if you understand exercise physiology. So that's very, very, very important here, all right? And I wrote down here in terms of heavy, heavy doesn't mean heavy. Heavy doesn't mean heaving the weights up, all right? I watch these people, even my age in the gym, they get on the bench press and their partner's standing behind doing an upright row and they're bouncing it and their ass is 2 feet in the air and they're heaving the weight up, but they're training heavy. No, you're training heavy. You're just heaving weights. You're not actually thinking about isolating the muscle and demanding it to be stimulated with overload, with an overload response, an adaptive response. So yeah, I wrote that down. Very, very important as well. So something I need to consider. Good question, Jack. Neil, Dr. Hendrik van Ransburg, a well-known doctor here, believes in the refeed days too. Okay, now, so I don't know who that doctor is, and I don't know where here is. But if you want to send me a link to whatever they're writing, I'd be happy to read it. But really, my cycle diet is the leader in this. I started the refeeds back in the late 80s, where it was unheard of to overfeed yourself. I mean, it just didn't make any sense. It was all about calories in, calories out. And if you overate to the extent that I was advocating, like 10,000 plus calories per day, then there was no way around you were going to get fat. And yet here I was with six-pack abs year round. So it left a lot of the experts telling me that it couldn't work, scratching their heads. So what I like about my cycle diet, what I said in the very first page of the book, is it was born in the real world of experience. It wasn't born in a library somewhere. So it was actually something I noticed from being a bodybuilder, watching other bodybuilders, seeing that window of time in the week after a contest where you could pretty much eat anything and not get fat and just look better and better. And I thought, there's something going on here. So I did what's called reverse engineering and broke it all down as to why that would be the case. And that's when I discovered what I've termed supercompensation mode and how that works and how refeeds work to optimize metabolism and keep it robust, and how you can have refeeds to not just keep metabolism robust, but to optimize metabolism and enhance fat burning and do something like enjoy a vacation without worrying about and making food part of that vacation experience, and knowing it's not going to cause any cosmetic ill effects at all. So, that's way back in the 80s when it was unheard of. So I'd be happy to look at this Dr. Van Rensburg's work. If it's based in research, by all means, send me the link, Nelly. I'd appreciate that. Chad says he's 5 weeks into the hard gainer and loves it. Oh, great. Could see why you haven't changed your workouts in 2 years. Well, Chad, that when I made that comment was a while ago, so I actually have changed my workouts now. I went from hard gainer to physique after 50, and now in physique after 50, I'm rolling that over into a few program options that I'm designing. You can see a lot of this stuff in my course, Program Design Masterclass. That's Program Design Masterclass, where there's a whackload of programs, and we explain what goes into developing them, designing them, why they stay true to the principles of exercise physiology, things like that. So my physique after 50 is one of them, and now I've sort of ran that into a new program that I call 321 training for physique after 50, and it's about hitting the body parts 3 times a week, but doing it in a sequence of 3-2-1 exercises for the bigger body parts. So 3 exercises one day with a load emphasis, 2 exercises the next day with an unload emphasis, and then 1 exercise the final day with just a stimulation emphasis. But I'm still working out the kinks, and I hope to have that written maybe by the end of the summer. I'm really excited about it. Really really happy with it. So I don't recommend any supplements, Donna. The supplement wagon makes me want to shoot myself. The way that supplements are being needlessly touted in this industry. It's again one of those things where the fitness industry thinks it knows more than the actual true research and science, R&D, medical universe, where it truly doesn't. And like I said at the beginning, I follow people like Walter Willett from Harvard School of Nutrition, and people will actually study nutrition without something to sell. Books like Do You Believe in Magic, and books like Natural Causes, and books like Muscle, Speed, and Lies will point people, if they want the truth, in the direction that supplements aren't necessary and can do more harm than good. So unfortunately, though, I'm whispering in a wind of screamers when I say that I don't believe in supplements. People should save their money. Very, very seldom are supplements necessary. There are exceptions, but no, in general, supplements are a waste of money. They should take that money and invest it in expertise. Every single person that's come to me who's been on the fence, I said, stop taking the supplements you're taking, because a lot of them are on a scroll list of supplements, and hire a coach. And they couldn't believe the difference, right? First of all, they couldn't believe they didn't feel any different without the supplements, and then they couldn't believe getting what actual true expert help actually did for them in terms of results. So that's my short little rant on supplements. I'm sure I'll come back to it, but my advice is save your money. How do you need to sorry, I'm scrolling quick now. How do you need to be in body fat for the refeed to work with your cycle diet? How do you know you're in super compensation mode? What's the biofeedback? That's all in the book, Chad. That's all in the cycle diet book. It would take me the rest of this feed to explain all that. That's why I write the books and do the courses. It outlines that in real specific detail. The unfortunate thing with the cycle diet, because it's been around so long, it's been ripped off a lot, and then people start trying to make it their own by mutating it, and what they do is they bastardize it. So I've seen all kinds of weird rethinking of my cycle diet that actually makes it not the cycle diet. Things like fasting the day after, or fasting the day before, or doing a juice cleanse the day after. And these are all supposedly part of the refeed experience, which again, totally vulgarizes an understanding of how metabolism works. So again, if you go to the cycle.diet webpage, you can get on board with the course, or just get the book. It's all explained in there. But it's not about having specific numbers of body fat. It's about the biofeedback in terms of hunger, appetite, energy levels in and out of the gym, sleep disruption, that kind of thing. So, oops. My performance and energy in the gym is a direct result of a good night's sleep, good food, proper hydration. Absolutely, Olivia. General principles. It's just, in this industry, general principles don't sell. They're not sexy enough, all right? People want to hear about 9-day cleanses, and they want to hear about magic foods, right? But the method is the magic. I talk about in my book, Beyond Metabolism, I talk about in my book all about those things. The principles that really matter in weight control is regular sleep and wake times and regularly timed meals. And this is backed up, for instance, at the National Weight Control Registry that monitors people that have lost substantial amounts of weight and kept it off for at least 2 years. These are the things that tend to correlate, not what kind of diet or foods they ate, but things like regular sleep and wake times, things like regular meal times. Very, very important point. No one wants to hear it, Olivia. Everyone wants to go on podcasts and websites like these and hear about the magic, all right? They want to hear about kale, and they want to hear about keto, and they want to hear sexy stuff, right? But, sexy doesn't work. Would I recommend barbell squats for trainers over 50? No, Ian, if you read my book, Physique After 50, barbell is out pretty much across the board. Now, there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be people with healthy joints. Maybe they didn't hang them and bang them for decades like I did in the prime of my career. But barbell movements put a lot more stress on needless stress on the joints. And when you're over 50, you want to do as much preventative stuff than reactive stuff. You want to do prehab more than rehab. So dumbbells are the way to go. And for dumbbell squats, I don't mean holding them at the shoulder. That's ridiculous. That would be just as stressful. I mean hanging them at the sides. So that would be, for someone over 50, that would be my recommendation, is no more barbell work at all. So everything dumbbells and machines. So Julie says, I've bought the masterclass, referring to my program design masterclass. Appreciate that, Julie. I'm going to be diving into all that knowledge this summer and looking forward to it, and I hope so. It's a really, really in-depth course about program design. Been competing in flexible dieting for 4 years, and I find myself in the rut you mentioned about counting everything. Yeah, that's terrible. A study we did on our podcast, Julie, so you know, a study from the University of Pittsburgh talked about how all these number tracking devices actually crush motivation over time. All the self-measuring and stuff is demotivating. All right. At first it seems motivating, and then there's a big jump off a cliff kind of effect. So okay, I wouldn't worry about set points and counting numbers. I just wish more people would train for how it makes them feel rather than how it makes them look, and then they would realize that appearance is sort of a healthy side effect of training because of how it makes you feel. You'll look better as a result of that rather than the other way around. Especially in competition season here, you see all these wannabes training for how it'll make them look, and you can tell they feel like hell. And for me, that's not a realistic trade-off. That's not coaching. That's not fitness. That's not beneficial. No one ever got ready for a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup by training and dieting themselves into the ground and telling them it was a good thing. All right, they want to optimize preparation, and they want to feel like a chomping at the bit and ready to go. All right, so yeah, none of that stuff makes sense. Anyone can transition into the cycle diet, Julie. It's just about training your metabolism to do so and making sure you're in super compensation mode. The problem there is people love the cycle diet because they love the idea of eating donuts and ice cream and stuff on a regular basis, and that's good, and that should be an attractive element of it. But you can't negate, that the cycle diet still has rules, and one of those rules is making sure metabolism is in super compensation mode, and there's ways to monitor and ensure that, outlined in the book, and even in more depth in the actual course. So I would recommend getting the course as well. Do I feel my immune response is normal on the cycle diet? I hardly ever get sick. I haven't got sick that much in 30 years. Every so often, maybe I catch something. I'm going on being 56. I don't know why people are so... people are so... I call it the Treehugger Effect, right? And we know this with orthorexia. People are so scared to eat outside of organic, healthy, green, colorful foods that they think if they do, they're going to get cancer, or they're going to get sick, or they're going to get, all these other things. And being afraid of food just isn't part of my makeup, and it's part of the reason I formulated the cycle diet as well. So no, I don't get extra sick because I just ate a whole box of Hershey's cream puffs, chocolate cream puffs. So yeah, my immune system ticks along just fine. Doctor says he wishes he was as healthy as I am in terms of my blood profiles and things like that. So again, diet is sustainable and it serves the body. Don't forget, Matt, the way I eat 6 days a week is about as healthy as it gets. So that 7th day, in terms of the refeed, is to keep my metabolism optimized, keep it well-trained and robust, keep it from down-regulating and getting sluggish. So it's beneficial, it's not harmful. If I ate like that 7 days a week all the time, then of course there would be repercussions to that. So, in the Busy Woman Workout with Krista, when will it be out? Suitable for physique after 50. The Busy Woman Train at Home course, wow, is it in depth? 16 circuits, and we're recording every single exercise in every single circuit. And since Krista comes here on her days off, that's once a week. So we're looking at that being ready probably in the fall, Gil, or MK. Probably sometime in the fall, because we all have different schedules as well. So we shoot when we can, and I'd still, be adding little bits of extras here and there. But that course is going to be really in depth, so I'm going to be really happy with that when it's done. We're also doing the same thing with the Hard Gainer Solution. We're turning that into a course. taping Andy doing every single exercise that's in the 80 workouts. So that's going to be really, really intensive as well, and we're going to get those out too. So very good. And Andy's awesome ab circuits should be out very soon, like within the next couple weeks, I think. Yeah, Julie, you might want to get away from that world. My best advice is get away from that world where it's all about body image. It's not healthy to think that too many people get involved with the competition side of the fitness industry and they don't realize it's anything but fit or healthy. What I would suggest, Julie, is you listen to, I think it's this week's podcast, which is almost over because we'll launch the next podcast tomorrow, but with my former client, Desiree Walker. I helped her get a pro card in figure without counting calories, without doing any cardio. She ate carbs the whole way through, and you can hear her discussion. She was a 2-time competitor on American Ninja Warrior. A great role model for ladies, and you can hear about how she just did that to get a pro card and then was just like, this isn't for me. So I think you'd get a lot out of that podcast. Smarter Sculpted Physique is the name of the podcast. I think it's episode 51 or something with Desiree Walker. I think you should listen to that for sure. And then tomorrow's is with Krista Scott Dixon from Precision Nutrition, PhD in Women's Studies. And I think you'll benefit from that one too. So you want to sign up for Smarter Sculpted Physique podcast. Get on board there. So yeah, I mean, people are just venting about Fitbits and stuff. Yeah, I mean, what a waste of money. Everyone thinks because there's technology that that's somehow, an improvement, and that's not always the case. Anything that takes you away from gauging and engaging with self-connection in the activity you're doing is something that isn't helping you, it's hurting you. The whole idea of doing this stuff is being self-connected, listening to your body. It's wise, it knows, and too many people just don't. They think these numbers track something, right? It's like I say every year when I go to Aruba, it's amazing. I go to the hotel gym because that's where the dumbbells are, etc. And I see all these people walking on a treadmill or doing the elliptical because they can count their calories. You got 7 miles of beach you can be out there walking and marching on. And if you knew, you would get what we call the hypermetabolic effect of walking in the sun when you're not used to the sun. The body responds by putting the metabolism in a hyper state in order to deal with the heat that's being produced that it's not used to. They would actually get a double whammy, but no, they go to the hotel gym in air conditioning so they can count calories on a machine. Absolutely makes no sense if you understand metabolism. So, folks, if you're liking this Breakfast with the Coach, you got to throw some thumbs and hearts across the screen. Not for my sake, I'm not asking for validation, but apparently Facebook thrives on this stuff, and that's how we get a lot of reach. And by all means, share as well. Sharing helps as well. Because, as you know, I've had a problem lately with people plagiarizing my work. It's been going on for a few years with a few specific people. It's very frustrating for someone like me who goes out of my way to be as productive as I can to help people, and then have people steal my work feels like rape. It really does. In terms of all that work, someone else representing it as their own is very offensive to me as a human being. Lydia's just saying how much she liked the podcast with Desiree. Well, Lydia, you'll really like tomorrow's with Krista Scott Dixon. She's just one hell of a smart cookie. And we had a lot to say about women's issues and things like that. I'm going to have her back to talk more about actual fitness stuff because we really got off on a tangent there, but it was because I was just so happy to finally meet her. So good stuff there. So that'll be tomorrow, Mike. So that's good. Okay, so I don't see any other questions coming in, so I'm going to take a little bit of time here. Here's one of the other things that's really frying my bacon these days. I'm starting to hear a lot of people writing me and saying things like, I work with this evidence-based trainer. And it almost makes me want to laugh. Evidence-based trainer. What the hell is that supposed to mean? And what it boils down that it's supposed to mean is someone can send you a piece of research on something. Well, let's think about that for a minute. Someone who calls himself an evidence-based trainer. What he basically is chasing vogue trends in research. That's not science. One piece of research isn't science. And let's consider how much contradictory research there is out there. Off the top of my head, I can give you 10 studies that promote supplements. I can also give you 20 that don't. I can give you 10 studies that say you really should stay away from caffeine, and I can give you 10 studies that say caffeine is the #1 oxidant available to humankind, and it's a great healthy stimulant, good for metabolism. So with all this contradictory information out there, someone calling themselves, I'm an evidence-based trainer, is really kind of ridiculous. It's another vogue word, vogue trend. Listen to all you evidence-based trainers out there who want to label yourself that. I'm an experience-based trainer. I rely on what I've known and seen in patterns for 4+ decades. If research supports that, I'll talk about it. If research doesn't support that, I'll ignore it, because I trust what I see in the real world. I don't trust one piece of research that comes across the pike every 5 years. So this nonsense about he's an evidence-based trainer, anyone who calls himself that doesn't really understand what this is all about. I'm an experience-based trainer, and I'll take the wisdom of 4 decades of experience over one piece of research any day. These guys are just what I call modern voguers, right? Wherever the trend is, that's where they follow with their nose, because they know they don't know and understand the principles in a deep enough way. So, oh, keto diet. All the people seem to be following that. I'm an evidence-based trainer. We should do keto diet, even as it's ruining your clients. It makes no sense. So watch out for catchphrases and vogue terms like evidence-based trainer. That makes no sense to me at all right? I'm an experience-based trainer. I'll rely on evidence that supports what I know and what I see and the methods I've developed. All right? I'm not going to chase research. Oftentimes I wait for research to catch up to me. Like my sodium article. When I first wrote that sodium article in the 90s, I was attacked left, right, and center by everybody and anybody. And lo and behold, 20 years, 25 years later, I've been proven right time and time again. Same thing with my client who sent me his blood pressure readings this week. If I was evidence-based trainer and he had high blood pressure and heart disease risk, I'd have him on keto. But I had him on a carb-based diet, starches and fibrous carbs, and his blood pressure's gone down to the point where it impressed his own doctor. So enough of this nonsense. I'm an evidence-based trainer. All right, that's a vogue. That's a vogue trend. I don't know where the term comes from. I don't really care, but it doesn't make any sense at all. All right, I would like to think that anyone with a brain uses research, but doesn't allow research to dictate to them. And let's get something straight. Research isn't science. We're in an industry that doesn't have hard science. Right? This isn't physics. All right, this isn't engineering. This isn't math. 2 and 2 isn't always 4. In this industry is a soft science. You have to use the research and let it inform you, but not dictate to you. That's what real good coaches do, and that's what I do. So I'm tired of people writing me talking about their former trainer or their current trainer being an evidence-based trainer. Like that term has no meaning for people like me. I can imagine a coach like Bill Belichick in football having someone write him and say, oh, well, someone's training me to be a football player. He's an evidence-based coach. What does that mean? All right, so it doesn't mean much of anything, folks. You're never going to find a good coach on the sidelines of any sport wearing a lab coat. And I say that time and time again. So let's get real about this. They think they're the only ones that can do a Google search and find research? Come on. And that doesn't tell anything. You have to have a method first, and then what does the research tell you about your method? Does it need tweaking? Does it need abandoning? What are you seeing in the real world when you apply your principles? All right, so enough of this. I have an evidence-based trainer. If you're using that term for yourself, stop it. All right, it has no bearing on real expertise. Okay, so that's very important, and I appreciate all the hearts there. For that little rant. I'm just tired of hearing that term because it's ridiculous, okay? So any other questions, folks? What time we got? Oh, we still got some time, so if you have any other questions, I got through a lot of the stuff I wanted to get through today, so that's good. I really wanted to get across that piece of 2013 research on 2/3 of CrossFitters getting hurt, and that's underreported, so imagine how high that number really is. And I'm just hoping CrossFit will die a slow death, as JC Santana and I both predicted it will in our podcast from a couple weeks ago. So yeah, looking forward to bringing this stuff to you. Might not be available for the next little while, so yeah, get some more questions in now. Anything, am I boggling people's minds there? Or are you just tired of listening to me talk? Or what? And see if I missed anything here. Yeah, well, a lot of people looking forward to Andy's Awesome Abs product, and it should be out. Yeah, like I said, it's near completion, I'm sure, so that'll be good. And yeah, so for everybody out there, if there's nothing else, anybody gonna? Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's someone. If you feel hungry, I mean, you eat protein and carbs and veg in a 2-1-1 portion, that's fine. You feel hungry even after 6 meals, increase your portion sizes. That's not rocket science. Your portion sizes are too small. And feeling hungry isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's about the level of hunger and the degree of hunger. So that's important. How do you define a healthy metabolism? A metabolism that never experiences intestinal discomfort from digesting food, like distension and cramping and bloating and things like that, is an indicator of faulty metabolism. A healthy metabolism is one where you can determine tolerable hunger and satiety. You don't have to eat till you're full, you eat till you're satisfied, and knowing the difference in that. A healthy metabolism is one where you sleep well. A healthy metabolism is one where you have good energy throughout the day, both within and outside of workout performance. And an optimized metabolism is a metabolism where if you stray from your diet, there's no ill effects cosmetically. You still look the same. That's important as well. So hopefully that outlines a little bit. Again, you can go to my book, Understanding Metabolism, or my book, Beyond Metabolism, and also the Cycle Diet course, the cycle.diet, will help you with that as well. So someone with metabolic damage, which workout program would be best? Ooh, that's a tough one. It usually would require like a deep assessment, Mary. But there's a free 4-day MET program that someone could start with if you've got a good enough level of conditioning, or try my Hard Gainer Solution. I would think, I think that would go a long way as well. Is this Valerio? That's the Valerio I think it is. Hey man, nice to see you. A long time for sure. What, 25 years or so. So, yeah, there's a lot of mixed info out there. So, yeah. Well, Valerio, I guess you're calling me one of the smartest guys in the game. Appreciate it. I have devoted that, 20 books and counting, and several online courses, and happy that every one of my books on Amazon went to #1 when we launched them. So, not sure if you knew that, Val, but yeah, doing well here. Lots of courses in the works and products in the works, and so yeah, loving it. So good to hear from you, Val. Yeah, hopefully, I don't know how you found me, but hopefully you'll see me in future Breakfast with the Coach casts, or on YouTube or whatever. We got a lot of stuff coming up, so hopefully you've all enjoyed this Sunday's breakfast session with the Coach. Happy Easter, and remember, in your head, stop talking about how hard it is. It's the hard that makes it great. It's the hard that makes it special. It's the hard that makes it worth doing. All right, so that should reframe that word challenging, and get yourself to rise to the level of the challenge. Okay, that's what it takes. It doesn't take magic. The method is the magic. Remember that. So, yeah, let's keep in touch. Val, you can drop me a line anytime. And folks, thanks for being out there. If you weren't out there, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me to be here. So, appreciate you being on board. Hopefully you've benefited a little bit or a lot. And I will post this on YouTube later on. So, thanks for staying tuned. And then, yeah, we'll see you next time, which might be not regular for the next little while. Lots going on, so we'll try to get out there. And yes, lots of hearts and thumbs, and a lot of that. Facebook loves that, so the more emoticons you throw across the screen, the more reach Facebook tries to create for these things. So I appreciate it. And Mike, you should write Mike about that. Write him at mike@scottabelfitness.com and tell him about that. I know he's got his hands full. We got several projects going at one time here. But yeah, we're all on board for that. So thanks again, folks. Happy Easter. And again, congratulations to April the Giraffe. Search that online, and I will see you next time.